Dear Julie, you might think you got away with what you did, but let me tell you something. I still don't know what it...
Hey, Ben, we just need some help with... Oh, come on! What? I still know what, Ben? What are you even getting out of these letters anymore?
Hey, she took my goddamn hand off. You know how hard it is to write with a hook?
You write them every summer. Nothing changes. Just leave her alone. Yeah, I know, Ben. You tell us every day. And you keep saying how you're never going to forget about last summer. But actually, it happened like 3 summers ago. It's not even last summer anymore. It was like 3 years ago, Ben.
I am sick of your Now pass me those Beanie Baby stamps and pack your bags. We're going to the Bahamas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Good Times with Bad Movies. I'm Tim Morrison, joined by my co-host, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s #1 fan, Paul Ireland. Paul, how you doing?
I'm fantastic tonight, Tim. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm awesome. It is the first week of summer, and we have a summer movie for you guys today. We are doing the sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
That's right, Tim. That's right. We're doing the sequel. You know what? Okay, so just a heads up here first. I actually really enjoy the first movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer. I think it's a really fun summer horror movie. I love hanging out outside, watching this movie with popcorn, and just like, it's so fun. This is such a fun movie. When this came out, this 97 or something when it first came out, like, I just really enjoy this, even though it's kind of stupid, it's kind of silly. A lot of this doesn't really make sense, and it's really confusing. It's just a really fun movie. So since this is a sequel to a movie, you're kind of coming into this halfway through it. We don't really know. There's a lot of moving parts and stuff. So we figured instead of doing a synopsis for this one, we would explain the first movie, and which would kind of bring us up to speed to this movie, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. So in the first movie, if we go back, I don't know, I guess it'd be 2 summers at this point from this movie. This is so confusing. All right. There were 4 teens, Julie, Helen, Barry, and Ray. So they're driving on the 4th of July, and I think Barry had been drinking, and they're partying, and Ray, who's Freddie Prinze Jr., he's driving back. For some reason, Barry just stands up in the car, and instead of just like slowing down and just, or like pulling over calmly or just like not even reacting to this, for some reason, Freddie Prinze Jr. freaks out in the car, and he starts swerving for God knows what reason, and he hits somebody. And they think that this person is someone named David Egan. So what happens is instead of just like throwing the body over the cliff that's right there, that would be really convenient, they sort of drag him down to this little dock, and they kick the body over, and he grabs a crown. And so they kind of think he's not dead, but they kind of think he's dead. They don't really know. So the next summer that comes up, the next 4th of July, they start getting mysterious messages and notes saying that someone saw them or knows what they did last summer. That's what they know right now. Come to find out that it is actually someone named Ben Willis. And this is so confusing again. So Ben Willis had a daughter named Susie, and Susie was a fiance of David Egan. And what happened was, at this point in the movie, it was 3 summers ago where Susie and David were driving their car on that same strip of road there. And they got into a car accident. Susie died. The whole town blamed David for some reason. Then he starts getting letters saying that someone knows what he did. And basically we find out Ben Willis killed him the year after she died on that same strip of road. For some reason, he's just up there just with like a little pocket watch thing or whatever it is. And just somehow Ben Willis knows he's up there, kicks him off the ledge. And then he steps out on the road, and that's when Freddie Prinze Jr. mows him down. That's basically where we come to at the end of the movie, where they find out that Ben Willis is the guy. So they really just ran over someone who murdered somebody else. I think that's the long and the short of that.
That's pretty good. The only way we can do that better is if we actually haul out a chalkboard and go through that point by point. By the end of the first movie of I Know What You Did Last Summer, Ray and Julie thought that they killed, or at least they're pretty sure that they've killed Ben Willis. He lost his hand, and I think he fell in the water off of a boat or something like that. And anyways, that's the last they heard of it. Except for there was a weird thing at the very end where Julie saw Ben in a mirror in her bathroom, and he came like crashing through it, almost like a really bad dream or something. And that's where the movie ended. So now here we are at I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, that came out in 1997, distributed by Sony Pictures. Are you ready, Paul? This is going to be a wet ride.
Let's put our raincoats on, Tim.
All right, let's go. So this movie starts out with a black screen and a lot of wind blowing. You hear a lot of howling and stuff. And also in this little soundtrack that's like throughout the movie, there's a whole bunch of yelling too. Like, oh, oh. It's really weird. Anyways, then we see this wooden carving of a fisherman. And I thought we might be at a wharf or something, but we're actually at a church. And Julie is walking into church, and she's about to.
Wait, sorry, hold on a second. That's not a fisherman. That's Mary. That's Mary with Jesus in her. Pretty sure.
Okay.
I think so, right?
Yeah, no, that makes way more sense. All right.
Like, it kind of looks like it's a Fisher little thing cloak, but yeah, I know.
Well, the killer in this movie is always wearing a rain slicker. So I've kind of I've watched this movie like 3 times over the past week. So I just have like this fisherman on the mind. Anyways, Julie is walking down the hall of this empty church. Looks like it's midnight or something. And she decides to make a confession. And it's basically just an exposition. Everything that Paul and I just did for you at the very beginning of this episode to catch you up on what happened in the previous movie, that's what Julie is doing here in the confession. She's basically just saying everything that happened last year. And she finally decides that she can say the killer's name out loud. And she says, Ben Willis. The voice from the other side of the confessional booth says, I know. And she's like, what? How couldn't you know? And then this hook comes through the confessional window. She screams and then wakes up in class. She's been having a nightmare. The teacher insults her and everybody laughs. And then, she runs out of the class embarrassed.
I mean, like, to be fair, she just like totally just screamed in the middle of class. Can you imagine you're sitting there taking notes in this university class and some lady at the top of her lungs just rips a giant scream? Like, what the hell is that? Right? That's totally normal.
Right after Julie runs out of class, this other guy runs out to her. And this is the new character in the movie. His name is Will Benson.
Yeah, and he's kind of handsome and he's kind of creepy.
So Julie is here. She's kind of having a meltdown, talking to him right now just about how emotional she's been. And she's just having all these crazy nightmares because it's a year to the day. It's the anniversary of when this fisherman with a hook for a hand killed all of her friends. Except for Freddie Prinze Jr. He's still alive. One moment, Julie is like really upset and she's kind of having a meltdown. And then the next moment she is laughing and she's excited for July 4th weekend. And she's just about to go upstairs to her apartment. And who is it? Freddie Prinze Jr., Ray. He's come here to surprise her.
Right. It's the return of the Mac, FPJ. He's back for the second time in this series for us, at least. As far as Good Times and Bad Movies. It's our second film with FPJ.
Yes, it is. He's popular with us.
As we learned in the first movie, I'm a really big fan of FPJ, folks.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that there'll probably be another movie that we'll do with him.
Oh, 100%.
Anyways, he has come here because he wants Julie to come home for the weekend and party like they used to. Not like the year before, but the years before the year before. And Julie's like, I'm just not ready to. And then Freddie's like, it's just me, isn't it? It's me. Fine, I'll just leave you alone. How insensitive are you? It's like actually a year. Like all of your friends just died last year. And you're like giving this girl crap because she doesn't want to come home and party on the 4th of July.
I guess to be fair, like Barry and Freddie didn't seem like too much of like friends in the first movie. So maybe it's just like she lost her friend and he just like lost a guy he used to hang out with. So he's like, it's not a big deal. Why don't we just come home? Who cares? And also maybe he just got over the trauma different. He's just like, well, like what's the problem? Like I got over it. Maybe you should too, I don't know. I don't think he really has a good answer there. But I always wondered too, because why are they in school? Why is she in class? It's the 4th of July. Like, how does that work for university? Do you just take classes in the middle of summertime?
I mean, I guess a lot of universities do have summer options. I went to college for 2 years straight with no breaks.
Okay, man. Well, whatever she's doing, that sucks. But okay, fair enough.
Just touching on that a little bit, there is like zero character development in this. We have no idea what she's in school for. Like, I don't know anything about Julie at all. She likes to sing. Well, we'll find that out here a little bit. She likes to sing.
Yeah, you know, she will survive, I think.
So Ray, disappointed that Julie doesn't want to come home and party this weekend, decides to leave. Julie, she's going into her house and she's got like tons of locks on her door just to kind of illustrate how paranoid she is. And, you know, it's only been a year. I'd be scared too. She's going through her house and she gets like chips and a bottle of water and goes to bed. So now we cut to nighttime and Julie has been asleep for a while and we see an image of a door closing. And as it's closing, she wakes up and she turns the light bulb on, but it blows, so she has no lights. So she opens up her drawer and she has a knife in there that she keeps in her drawer beside her bed. I guess to stay safe, right? So she starts creeping around her house with this knife that's looking in all sorts of directions. And by the way, this is where you hear that all the ooh and like all these weird wind noises and stuff. And every time she looks like to the left and then she looks to the right really quick and she goes, and there's nothing there. And that happens like over and over. Like it's like she's startling herself for no reason. But in the back, we see an image, or we see a shadow of a figure just kind of run by. So we know that there's someone in here with her. And then we hear some rattling coming from her closet in her bedroom. And who's in there? Opens the door, and out pops R&B pop star from the late 90s, Brandy.
What is going on in this movie?
So Brandy here, it was actually just rummaging through Julie's closet to get a dress because she wants something nice to wear tonight when she goes to the club. And, you know, they're both like kind of freaked out. They scared each other because Brandy thought that Julie was sleeping and didn't expect her to be standing outside the closet door with a knife when she came out. Isn't it kind of insensitive to Julie for Carla, like knowing what happened to Julie last summer, to just go creeping through her house at night when she's sleeping? I wouldn't do that to somebody I know just got attacked by a serial killer last year.
That's fair. It's definitely weird because at one point when you do see the shadow behind Julie, it's sort of like it's someone sneaking. They're doing a little tiptoe sneaking thing. So why would you even do that in this person's house when you're just going in for a dress if you're a normal person, right? Like so I know it's a horror movie and they want to scare us and put us in that suspense, but normally that's not how someone would behave. You don't just walk into someone's house. Look at, like, if I was going to go into your house looking for a dress, Tim, I wouldn't go around tiptoeing into the back there. I would just announce myself at the front and be like, "Hey man, I need a little black outfit for tonight. What do you got in fishnets for me?" Yeah.
So Brandy wants to cheer Julie up a little bit, so she tells you to come to work with her. Brandy actually works at the club. So she wanted something nice to wear for dancing as well as bartending. So Julie reluctantly goes out, and while we're at the bar here, we're introduced to Brandy's current boyfriend, Tyrell. And all you need to know about Tyrell is that he is horny. That's his only character trait in this movie, is that he is very horny.
This whole club scene that we experience here is really weird because it's just like, I know it's early 2000s, late 90s, like new metal, still kind of hot. They're playing like Orgy's cover of, or they're playing,
Blue Monday.
Orgy's cover of Blue Monday, right? Yeah, so there's like this like weird industrial music going on. And there's like a bunch of these strobe, like seizure lights going on and stuff. And Tyrell is, I mean, like Brandy's at work, but Tyrell is definitely driving to the hoop strong on this one.
Yeah, he's asking her to go in the back to have sex. Or like the bathroom or something. Like she's working.
And if it couldn't get any greasier, like Brandy sort of tries to foist him upon Jennifer Love Hewitt. She's just like, you know what? Like, I know you're all horned up right now, but I'm going to go work. Why don't you go dance with my friend? And even though Jennifer Love Hewitt seems kind of reluctant, she's like, no. Yes, no means yes. Go dance with him. You know, she's just really trying to get this guy and Jennifer Love Hewitt to dance. It's really weird. It's kind of greasy. It's kind of creepy for a second. Because he is like just talking about how horny he is and how much he wants to like. Basically, he's trying to drive. Like that's how humans survived as a species. That's kind of his method here.
So Will shows up. Did Brandy invite him or?
Well, so when I was watching this again, this is the only reason I could maybe fathom why Brandy would be trying to get her horny boyfriend to get Jennifer Love Hewitt on the dance floor. Because as we go up the stairs and we go to the top here, we see not, kind of handsome, kind of creepy Will. He's over in the corner. He gives him a wave. And Brandy sort of kind of lets her know that maybe she kind of told him that she would be at the club. So it's a, oh, hey, I didn't know you were here. But, like, we know you're here, because that's also the first thing that Will says to you. He comes up and he goes, it wasn't my idea, sorry. And, she sort of just, Brandy sort of looks at Jennifer Love Hewitt and just kind of, just awkwardly pushes them together and disappears into the dance floor with her horny boyfriend.
So Julie decides to go dancing with Will. And there's so much flashing and stuff going on, like flashing lights and stuff going on here, that it's kind of hard to keep track, and they kind of get lost a little bit. Her PTSD kicks in, and she gets nervous. And in the back of the flashing lights, we see the silhouette of the killer fisherman from the first movie in the rain slicker. He's there in this club. This is like the summertime. Obviously, it's July 4th weekend. This guy is in a club wearing a rain slicker. With a giant hood. Like, nobody around is questioning, like, what's up with this guy?
Right? Yeah, this is like a getup out of like Little Rascals, where you would have three of them stood up on each other with a raincoat over top of them so you couldn't see what was happening. That's the only way I could see someone getting into the club with this. There's a dress code at a club. You can't just walk in. They're like, oh, Captain Highliner, how are you doing tonight? Please come on in. Let me roll back the red carpet for you. Yeah, that's okay. Like, check your hook at the door, sir, if you could, please.
The funny thing about this scene is that she doesn't see the shadows. We do. So we know that the serial killer is in here in this club. But she doesn't see that. But she's still just as scared anyways. So she turns around and Will is there. She's startled by this, but he's there, and she decides she just wants to go home for the night. So after a hard night at the club, Julie wakes up the next day and she goes into the kitchen with Brandy. Now, I didn't realize her and Brandy actually live together at this point, do they?
I think Brandy is just like her friend that comes over. I don't know. They don't really delineate between. Yeah, is she like a Kramer and she just comes in and she just takes her like food and dresses and stuff, or is it like, yeah, does she come in and or does she? Are they roommates? They don't really say. I don't know.
Julie is scared at first because she doesn't know that Brandy's there, but there's this commotion coming from the washing machine, the dryer. Sounds like there's a bag of rocks or something large is going through the dryer that shouldn't be in there. And she opens it up and it's a pair of sneakers, and it's Brandy's sneakers. She had her sneakers drying in the dryer.
Unbelievable. Totally reckless. Just like total disregard for someone's appliances, honestly. Unless you're paying rent there. If you're paying rent there, fine. You're going to pay for the laundry machine to get fixed or whatever, the dryer to get fixed, that's fine. Otherwise, like, come on, man, what are you doing? Just going to someone's house, taking their dresses, just like putting your shoes in their dryer, busting them up.
And, she's like she's having a meltdown over the last few days because, again, this is the anniversary of her friend's death.
Your friend's just having a hard time. She almost got murdered like 2 summers ago, whatever it was. And you know what I mean? Like, so what are you doing?
The only reason I really touched on that is because there's a reference to it later on. So, anyways, we'll get to that much later on in the movie. But for now, the phone rings and Brandy goes and answers the phone. And it is Mark in the Morning from Magic 96.7, a local radio station. And they've been called to play a game, answer a question. And if they win, they get a prize. So, the question that they're asked is, what is the capital of Brazil? So neither one of them really know. And for whatever reason, Brandy or Julie runs to her cupboard, her pantry, and starts just rifling through things. And she finds a box of coffee. And it says Rio de Janeiro on it. So she says Rio de Janeiro. And bam, they are correct, I guess.
Don't Google that, folks. Save yourselves if you haven't seen this yet, all right?
They've just won a getaway to the Bahamas for this weekend. It seems like awfully short notice to like give it a prize like that, huh?
That's correct, Tim. It's a quick getaway with Mark in the Morning.
I guess the deal is that Julie is allowed to bring 3 guests. This is a 4-person cruise.
Well, not really a cruise, but
Not a cruise. They're going to take a really small boat there, so they're going to cruise on.
it's like a 4-person vacation getaway thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. For now, Julie is picking her 3 companions. So obviously, Brandy is going to come with, and Brandy is also going to bring her horny boyfriend Tyrell. And Julie figures, you know what? Maybe I can make Freddie Prinze Jr. a little happy if I invite him along with. Since he wanted me to come home and I didn't want to do that, maybe he'll come to the Bahamas with me. So she calls him. He's on a fishing boat right now because that's what he does for a living. He fishes. So he declines. He's just like, no, can't do it. And then he's even spiteful about it where he's like, you wouldn't come down here with me and now you want me to go to the Bahamas? And it's like, there's a kind of a funny moment where Brandy is even like, you need to sell him on the Bahamas. Come on, get a real man kind of thing. And yeah, she's right, really. So he declines and hangs up. Now we're still at the wharf with Freddie Prinze Jr. and his buddy Dave. Dave is like, dude, you say that you love her and you just declined a free trip to the Bahamas. What is wrong with you? What are you thinking? And Freddie Prinze Jr. is like, I'll show you what I'm thinking. And he hauls out an engagement ring. Okay? This guy... this guy, I guess, we're to believe that he's been planning on proposing to her like any time right now. And he's declined to go to the Bahamas with her. He gets angry that she won't party with him on the 4th of July weekend, an anniversary after everyone died. And... so now he's decided that he's actually just going to go to the Bahamas anyway and meet her and surprise her there.
So you know what's kind of weird about this is this guy is going to propose to his girlfriend. I guess maybe they don't really make it seem like they don't let you know how often he's seen Julie. It just seems like he just kind of showed up here once. It's maybe like the first or second time he's seen her since the events of the last movie happened. And you know, if you were going to propose to this girl whom you almost got murdered with, like you think a good place to do that would be the Bahamas, right? Why would you not want to go on this trip? Why are you just being a dink about it, right? Even if you were upset that she didn't come back to your hometown, you can still go out with her and discuss it.
Or pick a different day.
Yeah.
I think that anniversary isn't a very good day to propose to her.
But yeah, I guess so. I think you're trying to take a negative and make it a positive, I guess, you know.
I suppose. Maybe. So Freddie Prinze Jr. and Dave are now on a road trip in a little pickup truck, and they are driving down the road singing that song, Here I Go Again on My Own. I just really don't like that song.
Here I go again on my own. Yeah. I'm made of my mind.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. So they're going down the road, and then a ways ahead of their truck, they see another vehicle that's kind of adjacent to the lanes on the road.
Not just any vehicle, it's a BMW, like the one that they hit Ben Willis in the first movie.
Oh, wow. I did not catch that. So the same car is there, the same car that he was hit in the, wow.
Yeah, it's the same kind of car they mowed him over with. That's right.
So, okay. So we'll get right back to that here in a second. So anyways, that same car is there. And Freddie Prinze Jr. gets out of the truck to go over and inspect the surroundings of the car. And he sees a body laying on the ground. And he goes over to the body and rolls it over. And the body is dead. And he goes, Dave! And Dave's like, what? And then out of nowhere, the killer fisherman with a hook for a hand, this stabs the guy in the head with his hook and hooks him and drags him out of the truck. And then the fisherman gets into the truck and decides that he's going to chase down Freddie Mercury. He wants to run him over. And
sorry, you said Freddie Mercury.
Oh my gosh, I did say Freddie Mercury too.
That's hilarious. That's amazing. Freddie Mercury. I wish that's a damn interesting story right there. I mean, guess another one bites the dust, we'll say. But Tim, it's actually not a dead body. He sort of he sort of does like a little, I don't know what you call this, a little sneak attack. It's a mannequin. It's a little mannequin. He pulls it over. He's just been jigsawed. It's a little mannequin. He got set up here.
This scene where the fisherman is chasing Freddie Prince Jr. down the road is hilarious. Freddie is like running, like zigzagging, as if like he's being shot at from afar, like trying to not be an easy target. But it's a truck that's chasing him. And for some reason, this guy just can't hit him. And then this other like semi truck comes barreling down the road in the opposite direction and kind of cuts off the pickup truck. And Freddie Prinze Jr. jumps over the guardrail and takes a long roll down a hill. That's the end of that. This killer so far, he's going through an awful lot of like hassle to do whatever it is that he's doing here. So he went and got a mannequin, dressed it up. Yeah, he had to get another fisherman's outfit. So he's got a few of these raincoats, right? So he dressed up this mannequin. And then he also went well out of his way to get the same kind of car that he was hit by in the first movie. And just to cut Freddie Prinze Jr. off, chase him down the road and make him roll down a hill.
We're going to see in this movie, this killer, not only does he just write people letters, he's like your pen pal, stalker, but he's just very patient and he's very sneaky. He's really good, as we're going to see, and we saw a whole bunch in the first movie, at staging crime scenes and then moments later scrubbing them of any evidence or any trace that he was ever there. This guy is insane. If people thought teleporting Jason was stupid, like this is crazy, the level of ninja that this fisherman is.
He's Houdini.
Yes, he is. There's no way to explain this man. He's mind freaking you left, right, and center. Like it's incredible. I don't understand that. And also too, I mean, okay, spoiler alert, and because in about 10 minutes we're gonna find out that FPJ is still alive. But he just, it's weird that if you're a side character in any of these movies that I Know You Did Last Summer franchise, you're basically dead in one shot. He's going to one shot you. If you are someone that has aggrieved him, if you've run him over at any point in his life, or his daughter, or whatever, he's going to write you letters for a solid year, and then he is going to attack you. That is his whole MO. It makes no sense. Like this guy, he is so patient. I don't know why. Why would you screw with these people? Because in the first movie too, he cuts Sarah Michelle Gellar's hair. He just goes in. Think about this. He snuck up the stairs. He hung out in her house while until she was sleeping in the closet. Then he went out and he got a pair of scissors. He cut her hair. Okay. He put a crown on her head. And then he got like lipstick and wrote on her mirror and then ran away and snuck out of the house. And then didn't do anything else to her. And then he did that to the other guy when he's in the gym. He just went in there and was like peeping in on him in the shower. And then he like almost he kind of ran him over with the car, but didn't really. And then he just left him alone and he just kind of broke his leg and walked away. And that's it. So I don't get it. You think he would just kill people, but since we need to fill more time in the movie, we just have to not kill people unless you're a side character. So that's what's going to happen.
Julie was holding hope that Freddie Prinze Jr. would show up, but obviously he didn't because we know that he got ran off the road. Now, Will Benson that we met earlier, the good-looking but kind of creepy guy, he is taking the place. So now the four of them are going to go to the Bahamas together. They've arrived at the Bahamas, and we meet one of the boat attendants. His name's Derek. He helps take their bags, and we'll meet Derek again later on. But for now, they're just kind of walking through. There's tons of people around. It's a really nice day. They're all super pumped to be there. And then we get an early appearance of Jack Black, who plays this... I guess he is a staff there. He's just a big stoner.
Yeah, I think he's a cleaner or a pool boy, something like that, I guess. Yeah, you got to wonder about this whole getup that they've put on Jack Black in this. I don't understand this dude for one moment. Do you think this was his idea, or do you think that they sold him on this? I don't understand. Like, so first of all, Jack Black he's got dreads. He's got dreads in this movie, and he's got on these Oakleys and like a Hawaiian shirt and a little like seashell necklace thing here, and but he kind of talks like he's from Louisiana, in this as well too. I don't really understand the motivation of this character or who he is or how this guy was assembled in real life. So
I want to say it was probably a smaller role, and Jack Black just like made the best of it.
I guess so. This whole character is just like, you look at this now, you're like, I can't believe you guys did this. I don't know, but you know, it's pretty funny. So maybe, I mean, you can only explain so much of this character. So maybe we'll just play you something, and this is sort of the first introduction to Titus in the movie.
Yo, what's up, my brother? Are you looking for some bread? I got some back guano. I got the cream jeans. Listen, anything you guys need, Titus got.
The cream jeans.
Cream jeans. What is that? The back guano?
Well, back guano is bat crap.
Yeah. So, but I wonder, are these supposed to be real strains? I don't think so.
I remember looking that up before, and I don't believe they are real strains of weed.
It almost sounded like a real strain. You'd be like, oh, I want the cream jeans.
I bet that was Jack Black ad-libbing.
That could have been too. That's a good line. That's a funny one. I also had a question about this too. Well, maybe a couple questions here. How is Jack Black still employed at this hotel? I think that's the first question. And then the part B to that question is because he's just running around in the middle of this place when there's like 40, 50 people around yelling and trying to just sell people weed at random. And why is he just trying to sell these people weed? These 4 people that are just new to the hotel. Has he tried to everybody else in the hotel? And they just, you know what I mean? So let's like at some point, people are like, this big fat dude in dreads out there is running around stoned to the gills trying to sell me weed, and he's really annoying. Can you get this guy out of here? Like, I feel like he would have just been taken care of long ago.
That, or maybe people are very fond of him. There's a lot of people on vacation, and maybe all the staff love him too.
Like anyone who likes to party probably loves Titus. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe they like him.
I'd buy weed from Jack Black.
Would you buy weed from that guy though, Titus? Not. It's in a world where Jack Black doesn't exist, and this guy Titus comes up to you and goes, "What's up, my brother?" And he tries to sell you cream jeans. You're gonna buy that?
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
I'd buy it.
You're gonna buy Jack Black's cream jeans. All right.
No problem. We quickly find out that it's actually their off season that starts at the end of the night. There's going to be a boat that's going to take a lot of the people away in one run and not come back for quite a while because there's going to be a big storm. So they meet the manager here in the lobby to check in. And this guy is like, "Oh, great. Our contest winners are here. Roll out the red carpet." And it's like, what is this guy's problem?
Your whole job is dealing with customers. Just because it's the end of the season, why are you just like, well, you know what? You guys can just suck on a lemon. You just take it or leave it. It is what it is. Like, come on, man. You're supposed to be nice to people, like, regardless if they won this or not. Someone's paying for it. And it's good for your hotel if you're at least, you know, I don't know, kind of just a person and you treat people like a person too. But no, this guy's just a dick for no reason. And he also sort of freezes for a second when he sees what rooms are in. They're in room 201 and 202, which are the honeymoon suites. And something seems kind of weird and off about it when he mentions that.
The bellhop that's bringing their bags to their room also pauses when he finds out they're in 201 and 202. They also mention that they won this stay by doing the contest where they answered what the capital of Brazil is. They tell this guy that they won by saying that the answer is Rio de Janeiro. Anyways, he pauses, but he still takes their stuff in, and he insists that he personally take their bags in.
Yeah, they've really set this guy up to be very suspicious in this movie.
So we find out that Freddie Prinze Jr. is alive. He's in the hospital. He's very banged up. His arm is in a sling, and he looks like he's asleep. And while the doctors are walking away, they're debating on whether he is crazy or whether he's telling the truth about a crazy psycho fisherman killing his friends. They don't believe him. But no sooner, they go back into his room, and he is gone. Freddie Prinze Jr. got out of bed and jumped out a window.
Yeah, he snuck out. And they also let us know too that he claimed that there was a guy who attacked him with a hook for hand driving a BMW, and he killed his friend. And they also let you know that there is no friend, no sign of anyone else other than him, and they think he fell asleep and fell out of the car and got hurt.
The 4 of them are all settled in. They're finally ready to relax and have a few drinks, they go down to the bar. We meet one of these side characters you mentioned earlier. Her name is Nancy. All you need to know about Nancy is that she is the bartender. And she's a side character. You can take a guess at what may or may not happen to her. The four of them are ready to do some karaoke. And Julie really isn't into it, but everyone kind of makes her do it because they know that she just wants to have fun and they want her to have a good time. So they choose a song for her. They choose the song I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. Okay. I know I keep saying the anniversary and bringing it up of what happened in the previous movie, and this is 1 year later. Why would you make this poor girl who has gone through all of this stuff, like the tragedy with her friends, and is still being haunted a year to the day, make her do karaoke and make her sing I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor?
Yeah, well, maybe it was good intentions and it was just a poor choice of karaoke songs, you know? Maybe they're just like pick the first one that was up there. Personally, I would pick Girls Just Want to Have Fun. That's usually my go-to karaoke song. But, you know, different strokes for different folks. They felt, you know, they're thinking, you know, she's a Gloria Gaynor fan. That's what she looks like to them.
For a moment, you wouldn't think anything's wrong. Julie is having the time of her life. She is singing and dancing. And as she's looking at the words on the karaoke machine, they start to change from the lyrics that we know to, I still know, ... what you did last summer. Julie's the only person that can see it. And she's immediately startled and afraid. And she's, just like we've seen many times already, she's having a mental breakdown. She's trying to convince everybody, like, hey, he's here. He's messing with the karaoke machine. And they're like, come on, really? And you know what? That's exactly what I'm thinking as a viewer watching this. Again, this killer, okay? He went through, this is 1998, okay? So he was going through CDs. This wasn't like something you can just put on an MP3 player and easily hook up to your machine. So he was going through CDs and made this specific CD with this specific song that he hoped or knew that Julie was going to sing. Rewrote the words to it just so that you would see that message.
This guy is like James Bond, basically, is who this killer is. You got to think about that, too. It's like, did he make a CD and every song on it, he was like, he had stuff on there, or he would just like pick like 2 or 3 songs. He's like, you know, it'll be like, I Will Survive, or It's Raining Men. It could be one of those two. I think those are strong picks for Julie.
Yeah.
YMCA, that's a popular one, too, I feel like. I don't know. So he's maybe typecasting her, or he had to go through a lot of work to just like screw with her mentally for 3 seconds and hope that maybe no one else was looking too. You know, there's a lot of things that are dependent on just sheer luck and hope in this movie.
Now we go forward. We're going to skip a little bit. Nothing really important happens. We see that Tyrell and Brandy are in their room, and Will and Julie are now sharing a room. And now it's nighttime, and we are back to meet Derek, the dockhand. And he's tying up some boats at the wharf. And he keeps hearing noises behind him, and eventually, out of nowhere, we see Jack Black again. And here's what he wants to do.
Okay, hear me out. There's a kick-ass party on the mainland. I'm saying we take the boat and get jiggy with it. No. Oh, come on, man.
Oh,
his facial expression while he does that is actually pretty funny.
You know what? We've seen this. We've seen that little finishing touch now. This is the second time we've seen that. Sylvester Stallone did that in Rhinestone. That was his Tutti Frutti move.
Derek is having none of that. He's a straight edge. So Jack Black goes on his way. He's going to go get stoned by himself. After he leaves, Derek's foot gets wrapped up in the rope. It almost looks as though someone is yanking the rope and it's tightened around Derek's foot. And he gets hauled into the water. And as he's trying to get out of the water, he's looking up and he sees the killer in the raincoat with a hook for a hand. And he kills Derek.
R.I.P. Derek.
Nice knowing you, bud.
You know what, though? It's pretty sloppy on Derek, though, you think, because he's got his foot right in the middle of the rope. And you think if you deal with boats all the time, that should be like one of your top rules is don't put your foot inside the rope, right? Or anything you don't want to like potentially get lost in the rope. Don't stick it in there. It seems like Doc 101 to me.
Yeah, I think every dockhand should probably know that. Now we're in the hotel again. Because it's storm season, everyone's gone. Like 20 minutes ago, any scene in the hotel, there was tons of people around. Now it seems as though there's like a staff of like 5 people, if that, and these 4 friends. So now we're back in this empty hotel at night. And the housekeeper is going around cleaning up, and she hears noises, and she looks into her hamper and she sees a whole bunch of blood. And it's blood from the dockhand, right?
I don't know where the blood came from because they're just like blood on sheets. So whose blood is that? I don't know. I guess it's the dockhands. That sort of makes sense. It's the first person we think we've seen murdered on this island. So I guess we'll have to go with that. Unless it's the fisherman's like cutting his own hand or something. He's weird, you know?
The fisherman walks up behind her and hooks her in the face, takes her into a closet. Now the fisherman in the raincoat has killed 2 people. Sorry, he's killed 3 people. Freddie Prinze Jr.'s friend.
Yeah, that's talk about a turn down service. Here's something to think about right now. Like a day ago, Fisherman's friend was chasing Freddie Prinze Jr. down the road, and he's at the Bahamas now. And we're going to see, it takes Freddie Prinze Jr. quite a while to get to the Bahamas as well. I know that there's a storm, but it seems like this killer is there basically instantaneously. Even though we've already seen him go to the hotel, it almost seems like he's right there with them at that time. I don't know. There's a lot of weird time travel things going on in this movie.
It's almost as if he like hidden their luggage or something.
Right? Yeah. This guy's like, it's like, he's just, again, this guy's a teleporter. This guy's amazing.
We go to the evening. Julie is in their room alone. And she just finished having a shower. And she hears a noise. She's walking around, just like in the scene earlier. She's looking from left to right and gasping as if there's something there, and there's nothing every single time. So then she gets tired of that, and she goes back to the sink, and when she puts her head down for a second to dry her hair, we see the killer in the raincoat run behind her. Then she goes to her closet, and she sees blood dripping on the floor. She opens the closet door, and there's the dockhand, hanging, bloody, and dead. She screams and runs out in terror and goes and gets her 3 friends and tells them, what's going on. They go back up to the closet, and the owner of the hotel, the manager or whatever, he's there as well. They open the closet door, nothing is there. The blood on the floor, it's all gone. No body, nothing.
Must have been him and R. Kelly hanging out in the closet, just staging victims. I don't know. Yeah, right? Like, think about that. Because when the body dropped, there was blood on the body. So it would have probably splattered blood in places everywhere. So he would have had to unhook this body, drag it somewhere, hide it, clean up, wipe down the floor, the walls, any potential areas around that, and then stage everything back again normally, close the doors, and get out of there in a matter of like probably 2 minutes. It's incredible. The skill and precision and just cat-like moves that this Fisher guy is pulling off here. It's insane.
Nobody believes Julie. Everyone thinks that she's crazy. And the funny thing about it is that she recognized the body. She knows it's Derek the dockhand. And she said, look, you guys, it was Derek. And the owner of the hotel is like, look, I'll call Derek tomorrow and we'll put this to rest. Go to bed. This girl, this tourist, just identified that she saw one of your staff dead in the closet, and you're unwilling to even call them on the spot to try and put this to rest. You're going to wait till the next day. He's a bad boss. Previously, we kind of just skimmed over it, but our 4 guests here noticed that they've been losing items like a hairbrush. I think one of them lost a toothbrush. And we see Estes here, the bellhop from earlier. He is in his room. He's using items that they have to cast some voodoo.
Yeah, he's doing some weird like Santeria kind of stuff. I don't know what's going on in there. He's burning stuff and chanting things. And they definitely paint this guy, Estes, to be sort of a shady character in this movie.
Now we go back to Jack Black. And he is in his little shack. And he is getting ready to have a big bowl of weed from his giant bong.
It's been a long day of cleaning pools, he's got to relax.
The man in the raincoat shows up again. He puts his hook through Jack Black's hand, so Jack Black is stuck there. And then he starts just kind of scanning the room, deciding which item he's going to use to kill Jack Black. Jack Black is just like, no, not that one, not that one, not that one. And he finally picks what is it, like a pair of hedge clippers type thing. And right before he kills Jack Black, here's what Jack Black says.
What are you doing? No. Seriously, don't do that. Jesus. No. It's all good.
See, what I thought was interesting? In this movie, like I said, he sort of sounds like he's from Louisiana or something. He's got this weird accent in this movie, and he's got dreads and stuff. But during this death scene, he totally just loses the accent, and he acts exactly like Jack Black with dreads now. And it's just Jack Black with dreads and a Hawaiian shirt, with his gut hanging out, just getting murdered. That's what you're watching. Meanwhile, Freddie Prinze Jr. he's out and about here, and he is trying to get over to save Julie. But he first stops off at a pawn shop, and it looks like the pawn shop is run by Jon Favreau. This guy looks like Jon Favreau with just a little bit longer hair. That's really what he looks like to me. and he stops in and he pawns his wedding ring that he was going to give to Julie, and he gets a gun and he's headed back out again to go save the day.
Yeah, from this point on, really, it's just like, as far as Freddie Prinze Jr. is concerned, it's just Freddie goes on a road trip.
In the first movie, he's like one of the main characters, and in this movie, he's basically just a side dude who shows up at the start and at the end, and he's kind of in the middle a little bit.
I almost feel like Freddie Prinze Jr. became more of a star since the first movie, and they really wanted another returning character, and the best they could do is just give him to do like a small part.
Yeah, maybe he couldn't make it. Maybe it took him so long to get to the Bahamas because he had to stop and turn a nerd into the prom queen.
It's the next morning, and our four friends are all sleeping in the same bed because Julie is just that freaked out.
Or that freaky.
So still, nobody believes Julie, and now it's raining, the phones don't work, and they're just going to try and move on with this little mini vacation. So Will and Tyrell decide to go for a walk. Meanwhile, Brandy decides that she's going to do a little bit of kickboxing by herself. And Julie decides that she is going to get a tan and go into a tanning bed alone with a pair of headphones on. Okay.
And you think there's a potential murderer on the island stalking you. That's a good thing to do. Totally leave yourself vulnerable.
You just saw a dead body hanging in your closet last night. Yeah. Let's go get a tan. Anyways.
Let's shake off that bad night. Let's just go get our best tan.
While she's in the tanning bed, we see a guy in a raincoat walk in and very subtly put a zip tie around the handles for the tanning bed. Julie is now stuck in the tanning bed. She doesn't know that she can't open it. She doesn't know that yet. In a different area, Brandy has just finished kickboxing, and she hears some rumbling in the dryer. Of course, she thinks it's probably a pair of sneakers because everybody does that, I guess, in her world.
Right? Yeah, that's just what normal people do. They stick their sneakers in the dryer. That's what everybody does. Who the hell? I've never heard of anybody doing that up until like this movie.
This time, there's a body in the dryer. So just as she screams, Julie realizes that she's trapped in the tanning bed. She loses her mind. By the way, the man in the raincoat, he also turned the tanning bed up as high as it would go. So now she can't get out. Everybody hears her screaming. And there's a part here I just want to play to illustrate how just intense this is for everybody in the room.
I'm not crazy. I told you I was not crazy.
So what you just heard was Julie screaming because she's trapped, and everybody around trying to figure out what they can do to save her. Okay. They immediately start grabbing weightlifting equipment and bashing the hell out of this tanning bed. Okay. Paul, what would you do?
Well, there's a couple things. I definitely think you could slide out.
Step one.
I mean, I think you could probably slide out the back on this thing, or even the side. It looks like there's some room in this, so I don't see what the biggest deal is. But there also is, I guess, you could
turn it off.
That yeah, that's the other solution too. You could just go. You can totally just unplug this thing, or yeah, turn it right down to nothing. Absolutely. Why? I think it's a classic case of someone freaking out and making the situation just worse than it should be.
I would be really upset if I was in the tanning bed stuck and people just started taking a baseball bat to it. Let alone barbells and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's not a great idea too. Because what if all that glass shatters and you're just inside this thing now with like lights on you, burning you, and glass all on you, cutting you in your face? That's not a good look for anybody. You're definitely right there. I think the best solution, definitely is just turn the machine off.
Now they decide that they want to get off this island. They're looking for Mr. Brooks, the manager. They go to his office. They find him dead with a machete sticking out of the side of his head. And in blood written on the wall is, "I still know." I have a quick question. If he planned on killing her in the tanning bed, why is he leaving these notes around? Who's that for now? Because she's the only one that would know.
That's a good point. I don't know. That's really weird. Here's another thing I was thinking about too. Why is this fisherman, why is he so obsessed with Julie? Because Ray also was there that night. And to be fair, Ray's the one that drove over the fisherman, right? So you think he would actually be more upset at Ray being like, "You son of a bitch, you ran me over." Like, I'm not forgetting that. I'm coming after you. You think he'd be coming after him this whole movie? He's just like, you know what? Forget it, man. I got these frequent flyer miles. I'm just going to send everybody to the Bahamas. We're going to have a vacation. I got an excuse to murder at least one of them and I'll come back. At least that's where I live and I know where Ray is, so I'll kill him later. Maybe that's what he was thinking, you know?
While the four friends are searching for anybody alive in the hotel, they go to Estes' room, the voodoo man from earlier, and they find all of their missing items, and they can tell that he's been practicing some freaky stuff with their belongings in the way of casting spells. Not freaky as in sexual, anyways.
Oh, man. Oh, gross.
Julie decides that she's going to look at a map. There's a globe, and she's looking to see what the capital of Brazil is. Just before she finds it, we hear from out of the shadows behind them, Brasilia.
Okay, this guy just like, he raises up slowly behind her like, Brasilia. It was like he was like Count Dracula coming out of the shadows. What was this?
It's hilarious.
It was so funny. Like, what the hell was that?
It was great. Estes informs them that he kind of knows that there's something up because he knew that the correct answer to the question was Brasilia.
So he knows who this guy is. He knows this guy is a weirdo and has a past before that we're going to find out in about a minute here. And apparently he's just seen him running around here, Ben Willis. And he just said nothing this whole time, never warned anybody, never said anything to anybody. What the heck is Estes doing?
I've just received word from my correspondent at the shipyard that Freddie Prinze Jr. is there to get a boat. Now, back to the movie. So Estes here has taken the four friends to a little graveyard out in the woods. It's at this point that Julie finds a tombstone with her name on it, with today's date as the date that she dies. This completely sets her off. Julie has had enough. I think you should take a listen to see what that sounds like.
I'm not gonna die on this island. Do you hear me? If you want me back, come and get me. I'm right here. But my grave stays empty.
This is obviously an homage to the first movie with the "What are you waiting for?" And it's just the overhead crane out shot where you can see her and she's got the arms out wide and she's yelling at no one and yelling at the sky. And they really you see in this movie too, there's a lot of times where they're like, hey, that arm, when you have your arms out, that looks really good. Can you do that for us? Because it's like, there's so many times where she's explaining stuff in this movie. She's like, well, why don't we just go down to the pool? And she'll just like do these arms wide open things like she's in Creed. And she just does this a lot. I don't know. I understand. I guess they thought that was a good look for her or something in this too. But I also noticed something too with just the way she delivered those lines. To me, it reminded me of another movie.
Hey, I'm not afraid anymore. I said I'm not afraid anymore. Do you hear me? I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
She's not afraid of old man Shovel Slam, all right? So that's it. You can come and get me. I'm not afraid anymore.
The group decides to break apart a little bit. Will says that he's going to go and search for Estes, and the other three decide that they are going to go to the pantry because, to quote Tyrell, he is hungry and horny. People are dying left and right.
Like, I want a sandwich. Can you imagine that? That's incredible. That's where your mind's at when people are dying and there's a storm and you've got no communication. That's amazing.
They go to the pantry, and in the pantry, they're startled by a rat. But then, to their surprise, Nancy, the bartender from earlier, is also hiding in there. Oh, wait. This just in. Freddy is on the boat. He's halfway to the island. Okay, let's go back to the pantry for a second. Tyrell is still hungry and horny. And while he's complaining, a hook comes down from the ceiling and hooks him under the chin, and he is yanked up into the ceiling area by the man in the raincoat. Tyrell is dead, and now the three girls run out of the pantry screaming, and they seem to run upstairs into like an attic area over the rooms, and everything is in the dark. Like, it's really hard to see what is actually happening here. You just see a whole bunch of running and them trying to bounce along boards and stuff. And the Fishman is waiting for them at the end. And he gets a hold of Brandy, and they both fall down to the floor, like through the ceiling. Fortunately, on a bed. Then she runs out of the room and through a window, down a roof, and into a greenhouse area.
But she's lucky because it looks like a bunch of begonias just broke her fall, so.
The three girls still managed to get away, and now they've run to the boathouse for safety. And they go into the boathouse, and they're telling each other to grab their hands so they can stay safe. And one of them says, "You're not grabbing my hand." And then they turn the lights on, and we realize that she was holding a severed hand, and there are just bodies stacked up all around this little boathouse.
Think about that. So was he doing that right from the start with the housekeeping lady and Derek there? Was he just taking them, staging them somewhere inside this hotel, and then running back out of the hotel with these corpses, throwing them into this basement, and then running back and cleaning everything up? But they're lucky because, again, the kind of creepy, kind of handsome Will Benson comes down the stairs and he's like, "Hey guys, let's get the heck out of here." So everyone follows Will out of there and they decide to run back into the hotel. And what happens is Will looks like he's been wounded. He's got blood all over him. He's hobbling around now. He's holding his chest. Looks like he's really hurt. So he tells him that he's had a bit of an encounter with Estes and that he's been attacked. And, he thinks that he saw Fisherman's friend just kind of scoot down the beach there a while ago. So he thinks that they're probably safe inside the hotel. The bartender and Brandy split up off of the group. That's a great idea. Let's do that, okay? So we're just going to head over here in this other direction, and you guys stay here. This guy who's wounded, and you, Jennifer Love Hewitt, who's having a mental breakdown, you guys stay here. We're going to go just find some more people. So Jennifer Love Hewitt now, she's trying to take care of Will, and she slowly realizes that it was strange because he's actually doesn't have any cuts on his body anywhere. And his clothes actually aren't really cut up. And he mentions to her that it's because it's not his blood. So we find out now.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's right. That this guy, Will Benson, the kind of creepy, kind of handsome man, is actually really creepy. And he's potentially in on this whole murder vacation.
This whole contest from this radio station, Magic 96.7, was all a ruse, right down to the getaway itself and the prize. The killer bought tickets, 4 tickets, to the Bahamas and tricked Julie into winning a contest, even when she got the answer to the question wrong. Then allowed her to pick 3 people to bring with her. Allowed it to be random as to who she chose, but luckily she chose Will because she was going to bring Freddie Prinze Jr., but she brought Will because Freddie Prinze Jr. didn't show up. All to get them to go to the Bahamas for the weekend and to kill them.
To kill one of them, not even both of them. There's 2 of them left. He took a whole movie. He took a whole hour and like 40 minutes in the first movie to kill 2 people that were in the back seat of the car that ran him over the first time. How would you explain that Will just shows up here if Freddie Prinze Jr. had been picked originally?
And if you're willing to just run Freddie Prinze Jr. off of the road with a truck, why do you need to go through the hassle to send Jennifer Love Hewitt to the Bahamas and make a gravestone for her, dig a 6-foot deep grave for her too? Like, this is so much.
And he could have just ran over Freddie Prinze Jr. when he knocked himself out. Again, this would have been over. Didn't need none of this. Why the hell did we go to the Bahamas? Why did we get tropical with this? Maybe it was the cheapest place for flights. He's like, I can get a deal if I get 5 flights out to the Bahamas.
Or maybe that's where he dug the grave first while he was there. And he was like, now I got to get these guys here somehow.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the hotel, it looks like Carla and Nancy are running in the front lobby now, and they stumble upon Estes. And Estes, unfortunately, this is kind of one of those shining moments where, you know, they walk into the hotel and there's Estes, and he's got a harpoon through his chest now, and it looks like the fisherman has come out of the back now. We just see the guy in his little raincoat and his hook and his splasher, and he's out there now. And Nancy falls down with Estes on top of her. And unfortunately, the fisherman grabs the stick and he just stakes her with it too. So he's got 2 for 1 on this kebab.
That's all the side characters.
That's everybody. That's everybody. That's basically, yeah. We've made this movie go as long as we can now without killing the main characters. So now we're sort of at our climax of the movie. There's a huge storm going on now, and Will Benson is dragging Julie through the mud here over to the graveyard again where her tombstone was and all these other tombstones. We're going to play you a clip here there's no way to properly illustrate how stupid this writing is and how insulting this whole plot is to just everybody and the sensibilities of everyone who sat down and wasted time watching this thing. So we're just going to play you a clip. Let's go from there.
Tell me why.
Why, come on, Jules, think about it. You'll get it. Will Benson? Benson. Hi, Dad.
Wow.
That one hurt my brain.
Yeah, that reveal is so dumb. In case you didn't catch on, Will is the son of Ben. Benson.
Ben Willis, Will Benson.
Why would you even do that? Like,
Who wrote that?
Looking at it from the killer's point of view, why in the world would you hide a clue to who you really are in your last name?
There's a lot of red flags with this guy. I don't know.
You know what? He did not answer her question. That did not explain anything. She asked, why are you doing this? And he said, reveals that he's Ben's son. Okay. Why? Yeah. Why do you need to kill Julie?
Yeah, what stake does he have in this game, right? Because I understand your dad got run over by a car 2 summers ago or 3 summers ago, but...
What, now his whole family's going to come after him?
Yeah, what is this? Like, you can get your cousin in on this too? You got to relax and just let some stuff go, And how do you explain that too? Because... So, it's confusing to me because this guy, Ben Willis, lived on this island, apparently. Had a wife and these 2 kids, Susie and Will. I guess that's his name. Maybe that's his name. Maybe that's not his name. They don't really say that part. Ben Willis kills his wife, moves to Southport where they live. Then his daughter dies. Okay. In this small town. And then they also say in this too, in this small town, that everybody in the town blamed David Egan, right? And this is a small town. So it's weird that Julie and Ray and her friends never at all heard about this. This was like a new story to them. They had never heard of like, oh, it was a car crash and I had this David Egan guy. And I knew it was this guy from this. They didn't know anything about any of this stuff, right? And so how do you get your kid in on this? That you're like, oh, so I totally murdered this guy one summer because, you know, we thought he was the guy responsible for killing Susie, your sister, and I got hit by some kids. They tried to drown me in the water. So now I've been sending them love letters for a year. And then I tried to murder them, but I'm an idiot. I got my hand sucked off in some rigging and then flew in the water. So now here's what I want to do, son. I want to book 5 flights. I want to take you. I want to treat you and your friends to the Bahamas. Okay, and we're gonna go there, and we'll just leave them little notes again, and we'll just murder one person. That's it. And we'll the other guy. Who cares if he dies or not? We know where he lives. How do you get him in on this too? It's incredible the loyalty that this man has for his dad.
You're never going to forget that I remember.
That 3 summers ago that you hit me with that thing that one time, even though I killed somebody and I was trying to cover up their death.
You thought it was bad that I knew what you did last summer. My son also knows what you did last summer too.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I don't know why Will just didn't try to run them over with the car. That would have been a lot easier.
Do you think that the fisherman got his son to go along with this to help handle the cost of everything? Like sending these 4 people to the Bahamas? Looking at his checkbook or his budget, he's like, okay, I got to get some help here financially. I can't keep doing all this. I got to get them to the Bahamas.
Calls him up, son, what are you doing? We want to go halvesies on a murder vacation spree? What do you think? I don't know. That's a great question. What happened there? How? I don't know. Because you would have to think too, he'd be like, hey man, you have to go enroll in this school that this girl is in. And I need you to sort of sidle up to her for a year. And you might have to register under a fake name too, or at least pretend that your name is Will for the entire year. There's a lot of things that he would have had to have done. She went to school right after this happened. So he would have immediately got his hand cut off and then been like, hey son, can you go to university like tomorrow for me?
The fisherman and his son are about to put Julie in the grave that they prepared for her. But then, out of nowhere, Freddie Prinze Jr. shows up. He's finally here, and he has a gun. He points it at the fisherman, and unfortunately, Freddie Prinze Jr. doesn't know how to use a gun. The safety's on, or it's not loaded. Who knows? It doesn't work. So he gets into a scuffle with Will, and Jennifer Love Hewitt fights the fisherman.
Basically, what happens is at the end of this movie now is the same thing that happened at the end of the first movie, in that there is a scuffle that is ensued now between 4 of these people here. Will Benson picks up FPJ, and he's got him in a little full Nelson almost, and he's trying to hold him. And so Captain Highliner now, out of the just lines one up with his hook, and he's coming at FPJ here. And again, this is just like the end of the first movie, in that he's just an inept idiot, and he totally misses, swings his hook, and he catches Will with the hook, and he's murdered his son with this hook.
All this preparation to bring these 2 people that he finally has a chance to kill, he accidentally kills his own son.
It's a James Bond plot. It's an overly complicated, elaborate setup, and you could have killed this guy in 2 seconds, 100 times.
Yeah.
And you just leave it, and you leave it, and you leave it, and then you get this. And you get your hand chopped off in a friggin' a pulley system, and then you stab your son with your own hook because you're a dummy. Because you could have killed him 6 times over already.
By this time, Jennifer Love Hewitt, she has the handgun, she shoots Ben Willis, and he falls into the grave that he prepared for Julie. The next day, the storm is over, it's nice out. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Julie are being greeted by emergency. We see Brandy, she's still alive, and the 3 of them smile, hug each other, and they joke about just telling people that it rained, and they laugh a little bit. I just feel like that's so insensitive. All of these people just died all around you, and you're like giggling and laughing already.
Making jokes.
Now we skip forward to some time later. It doesn't really say how long, but we see Julie is walking into a house with a just sold sign on it. So this is her new house. And surprise, surprise, she's living with Freddie Prinze Jr. and she has the engagement ring on her finger. Freddie Prinze Jr. is in the bathroom brushing his teeth, and Julie is getting ready for bed once again, she's still got a little bit of PTSD. She hears a noise in her house, so now she's kind of just walking around the house. She goes to a back room and sees that a window has been slit open, and she closes that, and she goes back to her bedroom, and she sits on the bed and looks down at the floor for a moment, and a few feet away on the floor, there's also a mirror. And as she glances down at that mirror, she sees in the reflection that underneath of the bed, near her feet, is the Fisherman killer. He is hiding underneath of her bed. She screams, and he grabs her by the feet and yanks her underneath the bed, and the movie is over.
That's it.
That made no sense.
Well, maybe it's another dream again. I don't know. What is that, right? Because there is another movie, right? I still know what you still did that one time on that summer, or I don't know what the hell it's, whatever it's called. They got a hit with the first movie, and it was just sort of this kind of fun, cheesy, kind of corny movie that if you didn't really look too hard at it and didn't spend too much time thinking about it too much, you'd be like, oh, it was a fun little, teen horror movie. But then they just try to make like a whole backstory that made no sense and just disregards half of the actual movie. So I don't know what the hell they were thinking with this. They're just cashing in on the name of the first one, I guess, at the end of the day, is all this is.
And I think they just wanted to shove it out as quickly as they could for as cheap as they could. So they set up a story where they're in the Bahamas and it's a no tourist season. So you've got a whole empty hotel to film in. You don't have to pay a whole bunch of extras. The story itself barely connects with the first movie in characters alone, but there's no furthering to the story at all. It didn't add a thing.
It doesn't even really matter that who this guy is in the first place anyways. It's just some guy. So because at the beginning of the first movie, they're talking about the Hook legend and everything, and they all have different versions of the Hook story, but it's not like this guy, there's a guy with a hook that comes after them, but it's not like he's the Hook man. It's not like he's some escaped convict or anything like that. And it's not even like they cut this guy's hand off in the first place and then he just replaced it with a hook afterwards, and then he was a Hook man. That would have been a little bit cooler and kind of would have made a little more sense than just this guy who got mad that he killed somebody and then he was walking away and then he almost got killed. And then somehow, again, no one in the town knew about this guy, or they all forgot about this guy. They weren't even like, what happened to Ben Willis, that fisherman with that daughter that died before?
If you're that killer, you should just thank your lucky stars that you didn't get caught for killing somebody and that you lived from being hit by a car.
Yeah, you have the perfect alibi right now, because as far as you know, there is a bunch of people out there that think they just killed the person you pushed in the water off the cliff.
He could have framed them for the murder that he committed.
That's it. That's what I mean. He could have just walked away from this whole thing and been like, those people, I'm pretty sure I saw them down at this port that one time. They did it.
Going back to the reveal about Will being Ben's son, if you're going to have a reveal and that character is just going to die within like minutes, it's pointless. If it had no bearing on the story, I was like, oh, you're related to him? Okay, you're dead. Whatever.
Yeah, there's no new. You don't learn anything new from that. It's not like there was a major part to this for why, you'd be afraid of this guy being his kid or something other than he's just in on it and wants to kill you. But like again, the whole family would have to be pretty kooky to be like, oh, I murdered your sister's fiance, and now just help me murder these kids who tried to kill me. There's a lot of things wrong with that. And I feel like they would have went to school with Will in the first place if he would have been in the town, because he's about their age. So how you grow up in this town and don't recognize this guy, Will Benson, at all, or Ben Willis? It's a small town. There's probably 300 people in the school. How do you just go through the school and you don't see this guy once? I didn't hear anything about all this stuff going on. None of the story makes any goddamn sense. And it's really annoying because I really like the first movie. And the more we talk about this, the more I'm like, I'm getting so stupid. It's stupid. None of this made any sense at all. Jack Black was kind of funny, but he was also really, really, really annoying in this too, to watch. He's goofy and none of this made sense. And then at the end of the movie, it's just like it's like the writers just were really cynical and they just took a big loogie and spat in your face. They're just like, oh, let's call him, he's Ben Willis's son. Willis could call him Will Benson. Ha ha ha. Do you don't think people would put this together?
The ending of the movie is really, really weak as well, as far as being creative or anything. They're in the future, they're engaged, and then just out of nowhere, she gets hauled underneath the bed by the killer that was just killed like 5 minutes ago. What was the point of that? Keep me in the theater for an extra 5 minutes?
You could have just left it when they got saved by the Coast Guard. They could have left it there. That could have been the movie you cut out. I still know what you did last summer. That's it. That's all we need. We didn't need the extra thing. They try to make Jennifer Love Hewitt a singer on us too. So, they're just foisting crap on us left, right, and center here.
I'm done with this movie.
I think this is a good place to call this one too, Tim. You're right. It's, again, summertime, baby. Let's start it off right. This is potentially, maybe you just want to watch the first one and just maybe you skip this one and just listen to this podcast. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Before we go, again, we'll just let you know, we're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. You can also find the episodes on YouTube as well. We post little clips on our YouTube channel, just also random things that we've got going on and little excerpts from the show. And you can also find us on Instagram. It's at Good Times Bad Movies Podcast. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Follow, subscribe us. Please, send us some ratings, send us some comments. Always helps with engagement. We appreciate it. And we're just going to leave you with a little bit of Titus to start off your summer here.
I'm saying we take the boat and get jiggy with it.